Alright, section 2, post-war prosperity across North Carolina. Okay, section 2, we're going to have 3 words to know: service industry, shopping centers, and Cold War. Okay, how was the economy in North Carolina changed after World War II? Remember, World War II is when we had Pearl Harbor, December 7th, 1941. Okay, so economy after North Carolina in World War II. So the Cold War, we watched the video talking about the actual Cold War was a 40-year standoff between the United States and the Soviet Union. Alright, intro. After World War II, North Carolina started to get different things, new things, like the telephone service, paved roads, and electricity. These are 3 things we are starting to make and get after World War II. So, post-war economy. North Carolina was very, very proud of all the products we made for Americans. Okay, we made a lot of products in North Carolina for the rest of the United States. Among them was furniture, right? Cigarettes. We've been making cigarettes for a while now. Right? But cigarettes was also a famous product we made for the United States. Sweet potatoes and peanuts. Here are 4 products that we are very, very proud of. Okay? Alright, the big 3. Alright, most factory jobs, if you took a job in a factory, you were going to be with one of the big 3. Alright, so what was the big 3? Well, if I got it highlighted here, you definitely need to highlight it in your notes. Textiles. Textiles was one of the big 3. A lot of textiles deals with clothing, manufacturers. Okay, furniture. We made a lot of furniture in North Carolina, and tobacco. Tobacco is still very big. Tobacco Road was that main road in the northwest part of North Carolina. Still the biggest money maker in North Carolina. Alright, so tobacco is a very large industry. Very large factory job. Okay, there were 2 textile mills that were huge in North Carolina: Burlington and Cannon. These were the largest textile makers in North Carolina. Okay, so everything after World War II, we're starting to receive more people. Alright, the economy's starting to go up a little bit. So we're going to have to attract new industry. Alright, more jobs is needed after as the population is growing. Alright, people are moving here. We have cheap land. We have low taxes. Alright, we also have low salaries, which was used to create or recruit northern industries. So people were starting to migrate from the north to the south. Also, the service industry. And when you think about the service industry, you need to think about people helping others. It's also growing. Innovations. Alright. Airline industry was very important to North Carolina. When the people are moving, they can move by car. Now they can also move by plane. Alright. We have what's called the Research Triangle Park. The Research Triangle Park was created when large companies moved to the Raleigh-Durham area to take advantage of your 3 big Division I schools in North Carolina: Duke, NC State, and Carolina. This area was called the Triangle Park. It kind of looks like a triangle between North Carolina, State, and Duke. Okay, this is in the Raleigh-Durham area. It's called the Triangle Park. A lot of job opportunity, plus you got these big Division I schools. Also, labor unions. Think about labor, think about working. We're having problems with the labor unions. In North Carolina, we have low wages. It's still a huge problem. Okay, we have minimum wage, but it's very low. Remember, 40 hours a week was the average week. Also, there were very unsuccessful attempts were made to unionize tobacco and textile workers. Okay? Because workers were still suspicious. Okay? We've already had a lot of factories that were shut down just because people in the union would just pack up and quit. Okay? Like the Luray Mill example. Alright? Workers were getting treated unfairly, they were getting low wages, so one day they just packed their stuff up and left and went on strike. Okay, commerce and trade. All right, downtown areas were getting larger and larger by the day. They started to boom. Problem was parking. Parking was a major problem. Also, in the early 60s, we're starting to have our first department stores like Belk's. All right, a lot of people shop at Belk's. This is when Belk's was first created. Also got supermarkets and a lot of shopping centers. Also, banks grew. It's the first time banks are really starting to boom after the Great Depression in the 30s. All right, the Cold War. We mentioned it a little bit earlier in this PowerPoint. The Cold War was between the Soviet Union and the United States. It was a 40-year standoff. Problem was, after World War II, well, during World War II, we helped each other. Soviet Union helped the United States. After World War II, we both had large military, but one of us was a communist nation, while the other was a dictator nation. All right, the Soviets were communists. One person in charge ruling it. All right, so we went back and forth, back and forth. All right, the Cold War was fighting with words and diplomacy. So we would threaten them, they would threaten us. We were back and forth for 40 years. Luckily, nobody ever bombed each other or there was no true fighting. They were worried that we would send atomic bombs and hit each other with them, just like we did Japan after Pearl Harbor on December 7th. Alright? That was the Cold War. There was never no actual fighting, it was just with words and diplomacy. Okay, two other wars. Korean War, which was in the early 50s, and the Vietnam War, which was in the 1960s, the mid-60s. Okay, these are two other wars that were going on in between the Cold War. Okay, also, North Carolina trained people, Camp Lejeune, Fort Bragg, Seymour Johnson. North Carolina was a main training center for these bases. Okay, farming after World War II. Right, farms grew smaller because of new technology and tractors. Farm income is starting to grow a little bit bigger. Some of the things we grew was tobacco, cotton, hay, and we often raised cattle. So here's your summary slide. How was North Carolina's economy after World War II? Well, the North Carolina's economy grew. We had a lot of famous products. Among them was these four: cigarettes, furniture, peanuts, and sweet potatoes. Okay, we have the Triangle Park, the Raleigh-Durham area. Okay, remember Duke State, Carolina. Also, the service industry grew, people helping others. All right, and technology improved farming. Okay, this is section 2, all right, from chapter 13.